Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Snow's Seafood and Steak on Airline at 74 in Gonzales. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott, Max Gotro. Jordan Kinch is back in the studio. Glad to have you with us here. Randy McKay with us today. Scott Rabelais with us today. Wes Reynolds with us today. Golf picks today. And really nice weather. We're out on the patio here at Snow's. Enjoying the nice temperatures. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, the patio area here when the weather is nice.
Oh, it's cool.
We really enjoy this. We get to see everybody as they come and go here at Snow's. Come by and join us for lunch if you are in the area here. Airline at 74. Lane Kiffin yesterday. Address the media. He's into week 2 of football practice now. Kiffin's been addressing the media once a week, and there were a lot of things football-wise yesterday, but they asked him about Will Wade yesterday. Jimmy, we've seen a lot of things over the years where, okay, the football coach and the basketball coach, sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't. Different schools, we've seen different things. In general, it's in their best interest to get along. Not that there's very many two-sport athletes. That's more of a baseball thing, and that's rare too. But in general, these coaches use each other to recruit. Basketball coaches every coach on campus takes recruits to the football games, and we've seen the football coach take recruits to the basketball games a lot of times. And it's generally in their best interest to have a good working relationship. They don't have to necessarily be close friends. It's good to have a good working relationship. If these two sat down to just compare notes, get to know each other, Kiffin said he met him for the first time last week, said he didn't know him before that. I would imagine that they would have maybe the most interesting conversation maybe of any coaches. I don't know. Charlie Mack and Dale Brown maybe at LSU. They got more than a few things in common. They've shared more than a few similar experiences, wouldn't you think?
So compare. What do you mean? Where are you going with this? Because they have a lot of differences too.
Okay, well, and there are a lot of differences.
I mean, has Kiffin ever had any brushes with the NCAA or had that painted on it?
Minor.
Where?
Tennessee. There was some minor violations up there.
The Vol girls. That was his deal.
The Bryce Brown thing, it was minor.
Okay.
Mostly the one and done at Tennessee for Kiffin and at NC State for Wade. To go back now.
Well, no, that's for sure.
That's the biggest one. And
both left for better jobs.
And you remember when Kiffin left for USC from Tennessee, they almost burned the doggone campus down in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was other.
I don't like a 7-4 year, 8-4.
I want to say they finished 7-6, maybe
7-6.
with the bowl game, something like that.
He didn't coach the bowl game, did he?
Well, I think they were maybe they were 6-5, 7. I'll look it up, but it's something like that. They were 1 or 2 games over 500.
You didn't hear.
And he was hung. I mean. They were burning mattresses and whatnot.
No, they were butthurt. Yeah, jilted.
Wade has gone through something similar at NC State. They both, like you said, they both left for better jobs, but not everybody thought that they were necessarily better jobs. At least certainly
the jobs they left.
In this case,
yeah, but the jobs they left, they were, Kiffin. They were both forced out, but for completely different reasons. So
correct.
Yeah.
They
7-6,
7-6,
4-4. Yeah, we're 5-7 the year before, and I guess he did coach the bowl game, huh?
I don't remember exactly when he took the USC job, but yeah, it was thought of as a turnaround year. You remember the biggest game that they played that year, in my opinion, the one that turned the most heads?
It was Alabama.
They almost beat Alabama.
Yeah.
And Terrence Cody
Right.
blocked the field goal
Right.
at the end. Otherwise, they would have Saban and them were on something like a 17 game win streak at that time. And Tennessee had every opportunity to beat them.
Yeah, 12-10.
Yeah. They thought they were turning around. Tennessee was excited to have him. They thought that, hey, this is the first.
Mild success, though, Charlie.
No, it was mild success, but he had a big recruiting class back when that mattered. And they thought that, hey, he's going in that direction. It wasn't, hey.
The honeymoon period.
And remember that at that time, Tennessee wasn't that far removed from competing for a championship. The Phil Fulmer team in 2007 played a touchdown game with LSU in Atlanta. They could have play here, play there. They could have won that game in the Georgia Dome. So they weren't that far removed from pretty serious success. So they didn't want to lose him. And NC State,
5 of the 7 wins were Kentucky, Vandy, Memphis, Ohio, U, and Western Kentucky.
Did they not
2-7 against?
Did they not think that they were going in the right direction? Like I said,
That's the honeymoon period, man. That is.
Did they not want to see him go? Did they not
No,
want to
I
see him
hear
stay?
you, Charlie. No, they were jilted because they were. But I mean, as far as man, they were on their way. Man, that's far. That's far from the truth.
I wouldn't.
I mean,
say
they were 2-7 against legitimate competition.
What do you think?
I mean, and you know what? One of the wins was South Carolina, and now there were 21. So give them credit there.
That was one of Spurrier's teams in South Carolina, right? That they beat.
Yeah, I mean those 5 of the. I mean, Vandy and Kentucky were. No,
I guess my point is these two guys have both worn the black hat. They both
they're
left after a year.
Oh no, they are. That's the biggest comp. They are disliked by the rest of the country. By big reason.
That's where I was going.
They continue to. I mean, but I don't. Like I said, their personalities are completely different. They're both coaches. They're both successful coaches at different levels. They've both taken over lower resource, so high major jobs, but lower resource positions, and made them competitive. But no, they're wildly unpopular. That's the biggest comp. But I can't. These guys are way different.
No, they're not. Their personnel is not what I meant. And
Kiffin
had to downshift to Florida.
We talked about
Atlantic.
this the other day. Yeah.
Kiffin had to downshift to Florida Atlantic. Wade had to downshift to McNeese for different reasons, and they won there.
I mean, Wade went 15-2 in the SEC, and it wasn't the SEC now, but it's the SEC. That year they had the best to that point, the best showing in the NCAA tournament. He went 15-2, won every road game.
I'm gonna give him credit for 16-2. I'm gonna give him credit for the last game.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was I'm sorry. No, of course. That's my bad. No, you're at 100% right. Yes, 16-2. And now, as he gets when Benford coached him in the game, he gets credit for those 2 wins.
Right.
Yeah, the Sweet 16.
And they did win every SEC road game that year, which that's never been done, but that's really hard to do.
That's hard. Yes, that's hard to do. LSU's best team didn't do that. They went to 81. They finished up at Rupp and lost a tough one.
Mel Turpin at the horn with a putback. I believe it was 64-62.
It was
the last possession.
Yes. Yeah.
Last possession.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to do. Some of Kentucky's best teams have not done that. At Florida, none of Florida's national championships teams swept the board on the road.
And I think the only team that went on Michigan this year.
So to get LSU to win the conference by multiple games, 16-2, no, not multiple games, outright, because that was the result from the Tennessee Auburn game that afternoon. Vandy LSU game was at night. That gave them the chance. I think Auburn beat Tennessee. Is the way it went. Tennessee was tied going into that day. Wade still talks about the Tennessee game. So, that.
That was a big. Javonte Smart had a big game.
Oh, yeah, because Trayvon was out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Had a great game.
Yeah, I enjoyed the second half at City Slice because my son had to go to the bathroom so bad. So there we go. Yeah, I still remind him. Yes,
you missed the end.
But anyway, but come on, man. This is the big thing is, man, nobody played Alabama at Tuscaloosa like they did that. Okay, that one stands. And Frank even told me they were going in and said, "Man, we ain't kissing the ring. We ain't kissing the ring. We're coming in here to compete." Kind of, he had that bravado, like, we're not. Who cares about this? The setting and stuff. But those were modest at best. Results from that 1 year. It was more of the, how it is when you get the new coach. It's the honeymoon period. I mean, it's everybody's optimistic, but maybe based on the recruiting classes, he was causing a disturbance. I talked to Frank. He said, "Man, what are they saying down there?" I said, "They said y'all cheating your asses off." I mean, and that's what they were saying. I mean, were they not? The Jansen Jackson,
Jansen Jackson left a bad taste in everybody's mouth because he flat out,
not every don't say everybody hears mouth
because he flat out lied. It's recruiting. You get Bryce Brown was the one that caught more national.
Well, because he delayed it so much, and he. No, you don't have to sound as whoever his advisor was pretty good because they sweetened the pot. Because he's the last guy dangling out there. I mean.
And these two guys, who are both young and could coach here a long time, this could be, this 1-2 punch that everybody else hates figures to be in Baton Rouge a long time.
Blue book this one right now. Wade's going to be here longer than Kiffin.
That's probably right.
Wade's going to be here longer than Kiffin.
That's probably right. For one thing, he's 7 years younger.
Wade had to itch to come back. I know the administration is completely different. So when people say, "Well, it's the same school," yeah, it is, but it's got a completely different feel. And maybe that administration would have to change and have some turnover, and they do, but it would have to change drastically for him to. Have the itch to go somewhere else.
That's it. The alignment that Verish talked about, the restructuring of the athletic department. These sports are essentially going to have.
Well, he's the one that had to get aligned.
Well, it's a new day.
I know. Hey, man, Verge is winning, man. Verge is winning. He gets credit. He gets credit.
It feels like a permanence that you don't often get. Well, is this guy going to fit? Look. With what they're paying them, what they paid already, these two guys are going to be here for a long time. And I agree with you. I think Wade will be here longer than Kiffin because down the line, 5 years from now, whatever, I could see Lane Kiffin taking a shot at the NFL. I would be surprised if Will Wade had any aspirations to coach in the NBA at any point in his life. Even 5-10 years.
Kiffin's track record, he jumps a lot. Now, jumping, Nick Saban was a jumper when he came here. Okay, and
roughly the same age Kiffin is now.
And we knew that it was his career ambition to go to the pros. He was labeled a pro guy. He went to Miami for 2 years. Oh, let's relabel that. Oh no, he's a college guy. And I mean, he's not on NFL today, or game night, whatever it is. I mean, he's on, the college game day. But he came here, even after coaching Toledo and Michigan State. He came here as a quote-unquote pro guy.
Because of his time in Cleveland.
And because he had turned down 2 jobs. I mean, they knew more NFL job offers were coming.
He had turned down the Dolphins were the last job of the big jobs because he had turned down Chicago, he had turned down New York, he had turned down the Colts.
He turned down the Colts in New York before he got here.
Yeah. And then he turned down an overture, at least from Washington. And so it was like, if the Cowboys were out of it, it's like, well, the Dolphins, Wayne Huizenga was one of the more wealthy owners at the time.
He was considered by a lot to be the best to work for.
Right. And so it was like, okay, if they dodge the Dolphins, maybe he'll stay. And, of course, the Dolphins got him. Anyway, I think these guys are going to be here for a long time. It was interesting because you don't hear the coaches talk about the other programs a whole lot. And Kiffin yesterday was very...
Both of these guys are smart enough to embrace, and I think both of the biggest commonality is that LSU had to be aggressive. And Kiffin said that 2 days ago. when they put in front of him. This was, I thought we discussed this yesterday, but he said, look, I said something about LSU that maybe not everybody's offering this guy. Maybe not everybody wants Lane Kiffin. Maybe not everybody wants Will Wade. But no, they see something. And for Will Wade to come back to the place where they just launched him, that's it. So Kiffin said all the right things.
Yeah,
he said all the right things.
He talked during the show yesterday, so I got a snippet. I didn't get to hear the whole thing until I got home yesterday.
They both promised. We don't know exactly the numbers, and we don't know because Will's going to hustle his own
that's a moving target
too.
And
Kiffin has a track record of doing it. He excited a fan base and never got off a dime for anything at Ole Miss. He got them to where they were. So they both have different paths and completely different personalities. And I don't see them chumming. But I think the common respect is the $1 million thing that you're trying to hit on as far as coexisting and moving in the right direction. No, Kiffin will use a basketball program to bring some recruits sometimes, as they do, and certainly will. Hey, I think they will only be allies. Moving as opposed to adversaries.
Their success will breed more success for the other ones. They won't be competing for rev share dollars. That's kind of the whole idea.
This is easy compared to the resources they had to turn around before.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't forget over here at Snow's Seafood and Steak, our lunch specials. This is for the entire week. The beef tips and mash, tender beef tips sauteed with onions, mushrooms, deglazed with our house Cabernet, finished with a rich demi-glace reduction, served over creamy buttermilk country mashed potatoes. The honey walnut shrimp is tempura battered shrimp, fried and tossed in a honey walnut sauce and served with vegetable fried rice. The catfish bayou, crispy fried strips of catfish over steamed rice with crawfish etouffee, served with a side of green beans. The Cantonese tuna rice bowls. So the marinated ahi tuna, lightly seared and served over fluffy jasmine rice with marinated cucumbers, carrots, and daikon radish, finished with a creamy avocado edamame seaweed salad and a drizzle of house-made Asian dressing. Our sandwich this week is a hot honey pork ribeye sandwich. Crispy Cajun fried pork ribeye served on a toasted brioche bun with crisp lettuce, ripe tomatoes, tangy vinegar slaw, house-made Creole mayo, and a drizzle of sweet heat hot honey sauce served with French fries. And our salads, the shrimp green goddess and the bronze chicken chop salad. The reminder, of course, for the Holy Week, of course, with Big Good Friday and all of that coming up this weekend, the Easter weekend. We're serving crawfish as well, boiled crawfish. I had them. They are excellent. It's a nice over here at the patio with the breezeway going, and it's every day starting at 5 p.m. and all day Sunday. Yes, we are open from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. for Easter Sunday.
Live at Snow's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. New Handycast up on YouTube. That is on LSU Baseball. It's brought to you by Supreme Rice, celebrating 90 years in business here in 2026. Go to SupremeRice.com. About 20 minutes from now, Paul Skeens goes to the mound for Pittsburgh. Let's see if we can do a little better than on opening day last week. Skeens was roughed up in that first outing. And in about 45 minutes, Kevin Gausman goes for the Blue Jays. He had an excellent first start. Jimmy, Skeens on opening day, there were a couple of balls in the outfield that should have been caught. Maybe it should have been quite as bad.
No, there were a couple of dribblers. Infield hit, a bunt single.
Center fielder lost the ball.
Yeah, which is not an error because it didn't hit his glove, on the fly. There was one that it was hard hit to center, but it was just over the outreached arms of but he did start off, man. Like you said, he threw 5 balls to start. One of them was called a strike to start the game. So. And we've seen a little bit this with the World Baseball Classic pitchers. Webb had a rough day against the Yankees to start off. He pitched again last night. He was okay the first time through the lineup, then gave up a 3-run inning to the Padres. The Giants still held on a win. But we've seen Ranger Suarez. We've seen some of the pitchers have a little bit of some A little rough time, a little rough start for this one. So,
and Nola didn't pitch terrible in his first game. It was
great. No, WBC.
Yeah, he threw 5 innings and gave up 3 runs. Not terrible, not great,
not as good. Yeah,
but yeah, I can't help but think the owners were squeamish about this to begin with. Okay, after the Diaz injury, so this doesn't. I'm not saying it's the reason, but those are high leverage pitches, even though they were on pitch counts. I don't think this bodes well, these starts for these guys for the World Baseball Classic when this comes around the next time.
No, I hope it does because it's so fun. It's it's just I mean, if we down south can embrace that Olympic hockey, I mean, this is kind of the Olympic version. I know they have Olympic baseball, but this is, man, that was good, man. And I like seeing. I didn't realize this guy was Dominican. I didn't realize Acuna was Venezuelan. I didn't realize it. What I mean? And don't you see? And maybe it does mean more for the Latin American players in MLB. You can just see them. Okay, they're into it. Look, the Americans were in it as much as way more than over the course. About the same as, I mean, if they were in playoff baseball. Do you think Bryce Harper, when he hit that bomb to tie it in the 8th inning in the finals against Venezuela, do you think he would be that excited that much more or less than if he's in the 8th inning, the Phillies and the NLDS or something? No. I mean, they were into it. It's just that these players, they're removed from their country. They're, and it's kind of
everything about the event works except for the pitching. The nationalism is there, the crowd enthusiasm is there. That time of year, as baseball is integrating into spring training, all of that works. Everything works except the top frontline pitchers having their arms built up to throw high leverage pitches at that time of year. They're not
and high leverage. So Skeens talked about like, hey, this is just a workout. He's not going full out, but his temperament, he's high leverage. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's invested emotionally. That's the high leverage. How many are as disciplined as him, or did he overexert himself a little bit more than he normally would if he's thrown in front of 3,500 in Sarasota?
Yeah, I can't help it. Even if his intentions are, listen, don't overdo it here. You get in that stadium, you got the USA across your chest. The other team is.
And this one had a little bit more of the national pride peeking, off of the hockey. I mean, they went in with their hockey jerseys for the Venezuelans.
And he signed up the first day. It wasn't one of these that they had to talk him into it. He said, put my name in ink, and went to the Air Force Academy. I'm anxious to see what he does today against Cincinnati. That game goes here in about 15 minutes. Gausman, on the other hand, got off to a great start last week. He threw 6 innings of one-run baseball and struck out 11 and didn't walk anybody against Oakland. He goes today.
Boy, Oakland's had a rough time, man, on with the bats. Finally got a win yesterday.
He goes today against the Rockies. That game's in about a little over a half hour from now, and Toronto is a big, big favorite in this one. I was looking at Gausman, and he's 35 years old now, which kind of it gets my attention because I remember interviewing him when I was on the network crew for LSU baseball when he was 18 years old, and he showed up here as a 18, 19-year-old kid who was mature at that time and has had. Jimmy, you realize he has not missed a start, other than one start maybe, since 2015.
Damn.
I mean, his durability has been phenomenal. From Baltimore to Atlanta, the half a year he spent in Cincinnati, 2 years in San Francisco, and I don't think he's missed a single start the last 4 years for Toronto. 31, 31, 31, 32.
Nola's been really good with that, too.
Nola spent some time on the disabled list last year, but, yeah, he was incredibly durable, too. And Gausman's career numbers continue to climb because every one of these years for Toronto, the ERA has been anywhere from the low to mid-threes. He was 383 2 years ago, but his numbers have been terrific. His whip's always been below 125. So last year, he was only 10-11, but with an ERA of 3.5 and a whip of just over 1 for the Blue Jays. So he goes here in about a half hour for Toronto. So lots of Major League Baseball action this afternoon. Every game but two is afternoon.
He did throw a career high innings last year, though, 193.
At 35.
Yeah.
And he's not throwing as hard as he did at the beginning of his career, but boy, he's a really polished pitcher now.
No, he was overthrowing. I mean, and it was flattening out his sinker. I mean, he was 101 back before 25 guys were throwing 100. I mean, and it was just too straight. I mean, he had a really big reason for the Toronto that they were able to become a few outs away from winning the whole thing. Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings, 296-0060. Full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly, professional service is what you get with their long-standing staff. Of course, Chad and his great team at Legacy Title, Ashley Donald, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Marion Haynes, Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing, nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title, 296-0060. Talking about, you thought they were mad at Tennessee? The Lane Kiffin, the guy, it was an attorney who filed paperwork to formally request that a local wastewater treatment plant be named the Lane Kiffin Sewage Center.
Yeah.
That's fair to say, huh?
The burning mattresses were also kind of a tip-off. Live at Snow's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak. Ken Gonzalez on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Uh-oh, they let the big dog out.
Boom! Out of nowhere.
It's time for the big dog, Randy McKay, with his best picks.
Randy, in Indianapolis yet?
No, not yet. Take off tomorrow and then come back here to Vegas on Thursday, and then, of course, get ready for the Frozen Four because North Dakota, of course, made it in. So having to get extra rooms and extra tickets for the Frozen Four this year.
Max says Indiana has sports betting, huh? I'm pretty sure. Do they? Randy, does Indiana have sports betting? They do? Okay.
Yeah, they have it. Yeah, well, I'll be good to go there.
Okay, because I'm worried about you actually having to take money out of your pocket to pay for a hotel room. I'm worried about you.
I think he'll manage.
Yes. Where are you staying?
We rented the house in North Indianapolis there, so I didn't make the arrangements. So usually these guys are pretty good about making the arrangements. So we got a nice house, I think, and then next year when the Final Four is in Vegas, then I get to do the accommodations.
Golly,
so it's up to me next year.
Okay. Wait, you love those suites. What's the one? The Circa property, the partner. That the suites are really good at down the street on Fremont. Is it Golden?
Yep, I'm at the Golden Gate actually right now in a suite talking to you guys.
There you go, the Golden Gate Suite. So, Charlie, one day, huh? One day.
I'm hopeful. Hope springs eternal.
How did you so how's the tournament for you guys, and what did you learn maybe from this new era? Because we talked about the narrative before. I'm worried, man. This pay for play, it is separate. I mean, the mid majors are just getting poached, left and right. Not every player is, but at least 90% of the better players in the mid majors are jumping ship. And so, I mean, look at Michigan. Michigan's a favorite now. I mean, their best player came from UAB, last year. So last year, I mean, who was talking about how dominant Mara was for UCLA protecting the rim? Wasn't really, really talking about it. What did we learn? We did see a lot of blowouts. We did see some more chalk again this year, and we even saw historically inflated lines as well. But it was much more chalky during March Madness.
Yeah, I just think it's going to keep continuing till some set of rule is put in where maybe they can only transfer once. That would be the rule that I think should be for all the sports, but it's not up to me, of course. But it's still if that rule isn't put in, then it's just a free marketing game. We're even seeing it trickling down to coaches here with these coaching changes, and some of the mid-major better coaches are now like I'll just say, for instance, Ben Jacobson, one from Northern Iowa, where I thought he would never leave, and now he's at Utah State. So you're even seeing the coaches get taken up to the better programs as well. So and that's been happening before as well. And you guys have that same situation down at LSU. So we're seeing all kinds of things. So until it changes, some rules are put in place. I don't think it's going to change, and we're going to keep seeing the chalk emerge.
Charlie, you think Tommy Tuberville's a proposal?
It's got no chance.
No chance?
It's got no chance. Every time.
What we're talking about is 5 to play 5.
Yeah.
You get a free, but your second transfer, you sit out a year.
It's a noble idea, but I don't think it's got a chance. Every time you try to restrict player movement, they go to court and they win. Yeah. You get a kid here. Let's say he plays at Stephen F. Austin, and he's already transferred once, and he wants to transfer to Texas. And Texas offers him twice as much or 5 times as much. He goes to court and he says, "Look, you're restricting my motion. I can make 5 times as much money at Texas," and the courts have sided with him every time.
Yeah. Where is the Frozen Four, Randy?
Frozen Four is here in Vegas. The same weekend as the Masters, so going to be a little busy weekend tracking both that and the golf. So an exciting time, and should be a fun weekend as well, along with this weekend coming up.
But Sin City, huh? Taboo. Not even no Super Bowl, no All-Star game, no college events, huh? I mean, Final Four, the Frozen Four. Is gymnastics Final Four there this year?
Fort Worth.
Okay.
Fort Worth. Have they started building the baseball stadium yet? Have they done
yes.
that? They've started.
I don't know if they've actually broken ground. It's been approved, and it's they're still going to spend the next 2 seasons this year and next year at least in Sacramento.
The artist renderings are phenomenal looking of what that thing is going to look like when it finishes.
Don't ask Colucci. He's worried about the traffic going to the Golden Knight
Traffic's
games.
pretty bad anyway.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad regardless. So, all right, who are you guys on this weekend for the semifinals?
The only thing I got going on for the semifinals right now, and I'll be tracking some of these totals probably in this dome, but I haven't bet them yet. And of course, I usually look at first half totals, but. The only thing I got going now is I still got a future on UConn. Pretty bad odds from during the beginning of the year. I think it's like 15 or 16 to 1. So that's the sweat I got going into the Final Four. And like I said, I usually for these Final Fours, I usually look at the first halves. Look at unders, maybe even a dog with it. So that's how I usually bet these Final Fours, and usually don't have a solid, pregame bet. I've seen some people took the UConn plus 2.5, but if it got back up there, I'd probably start looking at maybe that side.
Well, Michigan has done it all year with defense, and, man, they just shut down Tennessee in that game. Second half against Alabama was really impressive. We know about how they defend with their length. They defend the rim so well. But, man, the second half, I just don't recall many times where Alabama had so many big guys out extending their defense where they just had poor looks from the perimeter. So, I mean, and we know Illinois is pretty good defensively as well. And both teams, they're not 3-point dependent. They both like to attack the rim. I just think that tailor-made, like they might be beaten, kind of trying to attack each other's defensive strength that might lend itself to even a lower scoring game than projected, Randy.
Yeah, I think the Michigan-Arizona game is a de facto probably championship game. It's too bad they're...
That's what I meant to say, Arizona, not Illinois. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's too bad they're in that same bracket. I think that would be I think they both match up in the championship game. That would have been separate. So I think that's the de facto championship game, and we'll see which one of those Titans prevail in that one. That one can go either way. I kind of favor Michigan maybe a little bit, but just so slightly. But you've seen impressive stuff out of Arizona this year, only with a couple losses. So that's going to be a fun one, probably an all-timer.
Well, the early 80s taught us, not to get those de facto national championship games. Of course, the biggest example of that, the best example is Houston, Phi Slamma Jamma, and the McRae brothers in Louisville and Albuquerque against a little NC State and Georgia. I mean, what were their 2 seeds? What, like 7 and 8, something like that. And another one was where 3 Big East teams made it to the Final Four, and in Virginia, and Villanova won this. It was supposed to be St. John's, the number 1, and Georgetown, the number 1 seeds, going toe-to-toe for the de facto national champions. And we saw what Villanova did, Georgetown in Lexington that year. What were the seeds for Georgia in NC State that year, or NC State?
Oh, NC State they barely got into the tournament.
Pretty sure Nova tournament was an 8-9 because they had to play number 1 Michigan in the second round the year they won it. So Max can look that up. I do have a question. And well, Randy, would it mean you telling me when was it the? Oh, there's been some of those examples in the NFL as well. Hey, what about what I do want is sort of the narrative. And usually you bet against narratives, or is this guy just this good in this situation? I don't know what might be a football comp to it, but I know back in the old days, Lou Holtz and Joe Paterno in bowl games had a great, because they had extra time to prepare. They had a lot of success. But Hurley's 17-1 straight up and against the spread the last 18 tournament games. But then that narrative looks like it might push that line, to where Illinois might be the value here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it definitely could. A lot of people aren't, real big Brad Underwood fans, but I think he's a fine coach, and probably is okay as well. So, you get those narratives like that, and that was one of the reasons, people were on UConn against Duke. I had that as well. So that could be one of the reasons why that they hit the line down there right to start with. So, they're gonna look at the and coaching's a big thing in sports. So you get those narratives, you get the Andy Reid, off a bye and that kind of thing. So people will be looking at that one.
It's a big part of your handicapping as well. I know that as you rate your coaches a lot. Well, Big Dog, we appreciate it, man. Anything else before we let you go?
Well, I went to the Spear and saw a band. Maybe you guys really like the Eagles this last weekend. That was quite a fun time, So I took it easy and went and saw them, and had some nice. I got some nice.
See what he did there, Charlie. Take it easy. Yeah. Take it easy. Yeah. Okay.
Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Yeah.
Oh man, I was growing up. I think I was in junior high or maybe middle school with Hotel California. So, yes, indeed. At RR39 is where you can find all of Randy's stuff on Twitter. Big Dog, you be safe, man. Going to Indianapolis. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, you guys too, and everybody out there, take it to the limit one more time.
Oh boy, get out of here. That's enough.
That's my favorite. Yeah, they were. Villanova was an 8. They played. Michigan was the 1 seed in the second round.
Yeah, in the second round.
Yeah, in 85. They beat Memphis State in the national semifinals. That was the Keith Lee team.
I'm sorry. So it was St. John. It was that was still 3 or 4
Big East and Memphis State.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I remember nothing about that game. I just looked at the score was 52-45. The final in that game.
No shot clock.
There was no shot clock, and I just don't. I remember St. John's and Georgetown like it was yesterday, with Mullen and Winnington.
Well, they actually shot quicker than a lot of people thought. If you believe it.
I don't remember that Memphis State game at all. I remember the team. I remember Keith Lee was their best player, but I don't remember that game.
They were way more comfortable in the half court.
Yeah.
I mean, they had Pannone down low, but you had
Eddie Pinckney.
Pinckney.
1983, Georgia was a 4 seed. NC State was a 6 seed.
6 seed. There you go. Don't forget our friends at Go Chevrolet, Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Go Chevrolet is in LaPlace. Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is in Plaquemine. We have a second Chevrolet location from Go. Go Chevrolet West, also in Plaquemine. And now Go Ford and Waveland. The Go Automobile dealership family continues to grow. Lee Carney and Nick Richard, you've heard me talk about their concierge service department. Super convenient. Man, it's just wonderful guys and beautiful, easy, seamless execution on car shopping. So I don't just talk about the vehicles from Go Chevrolet. I drive a Chevy Tahoe that I got from Lee down at Go Chevrolet in LaPlace. So it's a Go Automobile dealership family. Go Chevrolet in LaPlace, Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and Go Chevrolet West in Plaquemine, and Go Ford in Waveland.
Live at Snow's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Here at Snow's on the patio, enjoying the nice weather here today. Hope you're enjoying the week. As we'll be on Friday. I think we are the only ones that'll be on Friday, but we'll be on Friday from Rufino's as we go into the holiday weekend this weekend. Paul Skeens, before he goes to the mound, will have runs to work with. O'Neal Cruz, Max, with the
people thought he was gonna snap out of it. He is so talented, but he is just, and especially his batting average has been really, really weak. And I mean that's not an organization that can take one of their high ceiling guys, that doesn't perform. And that was sort of the chatter in spring training that he was ready for a breakout season. He had 2 home runs last night, a third one here. But nobody hitting him like Yordan Alvarez right now for the Astros. Another bomb last night, and I mean just smash it. But Skeens we talked about this lineup, had the chance to be improved. Couldn't be worse for Pittsburgh, but man, that was just brutal, and that'll wear on anybody. I don't care what your tolerance level is with Skeens. Skeens is pretty grounded. I mean, just 0 run, one run, 0 runs over and over and over. This is the second time. It's very early, but he's got a little run support.
Yeah, he got 2 runs in the first inning on opening day, and then gave up the 5 in the bottom.
They scored like 6 in that game.
Yeah, well, I think it was 11-7 was the final
6
score.
or 7. Yeah.
They go to the bottom of the first in Cincinnati with a 3-0 lead.
Pirates fans are very conscious of his struggles in center field. I've seen some comments from some of their fan base about, replacing him in the field, at least having him DH. They are frustrated with either his lack of effort or some of his mistakes. O'Neal Cruz in center field, and
he was playing shortstop. How many guys? I mean, he's talented enough to play anywhere. I mean, he's got a rifle, and he can run like the wind. But his instincts need some polishing, to say improvement. Yeah.
We'll take a break here at the top of the hour. Scott Rabelais, Wes Reynolds with us in hour number 2. Our consensus golf picks as well. We're at Snow Seafood and Steak on Airline Highway at 74 in Gonzales. Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Enjoying the finer things in life is his forte. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate.
In return here at Snow's Seafood and Steak on Airline Highway at 74 in Gonzales. Jimmy, the holiday weekend coming up here. Lots of things going on here the next few days at Snow's.
We have, tons of seafood options, for the Lenten options. There's no doubt about that. I mean, that's what our bread and butter is over here at Snow's. But we've got a lot of different, lunch specials as well to go on through them. We talked about them again: the beef tips and mash, honey walnut shrimp, the catfish bayou, the Cantonese tuna rice bowl. Sandwich this week is a hot honey pork ribeye, and then our salads: the shrimp green goddess or the bronze chicken chopped salad. We Sometimes not in boiled crawfish over here at Snow Seafood and Steak, and I've had them. They're excellent over here. That's every day starting at 5 p.m. and all day Sunday. Boiled crawfish available as well over at Snow Seafood and Steak.
Scott, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, hi. I'm getting fired up, but there's a lot going on right now. Fired for Masters Week next week, but a lot going on locally right now too. So.
Yeah, next week when we talk to you, it'll be right after the chairman's speech, I believe, at Augusta next week. But let's get your takeaways from how everything went down with LSU rehiring Will Wade, his comments, press conference on Monday, and how this all has shaken out since the last time we talked to you a week ago, which seems like a long time.
Yeah, really. This seemed, I would say inevitable, but it certainly was something that seemed more plausible once, going back to last year when it seems that, that Lee Mallett and the governor wanted them to get rid of Matt McMahon and bring Will Wade back, and that kind of greased the skids for Scott Woodward's departure to Wade Rouse. Is it Rouse or Roos? I never can say it.
Roos.
Wade Roos. Not like the grocery store. He's the academician. Him coming, and of course Lee Mallett's now the chairman of the board, and obviously bringing over Heath Stroyer, and so. The only thing that seemed to me was that does Will Wade want to leave a school that's got a great tradition in NC State and basketball, and does he want to come back? I was told, as you guys probably heard, that he never fell out of love with LSU, and that he made that plain at his press conference on Monday. He never really had hard feelings towards LSU for the firing. He said, he told people they did what they had to do, and I moved on, and he didn't think this day would come, and I wasn't sure it would either. But the heart wants what it wants, and LSU wanted Will Wade, and Will Wade wanted to come back, and here they are together again. And it's never a lack of storylines in covering LSU. Look, is LSU Ohio State necessarily, or Texas? I don't know, but that can't be a more interesting school to cover in America. Especially with the coaches we have here now and the storylines that they generate with Kiffin and Mulkey and now Will Wade coming back. And Jay Johnson, he just putters along. The opposing pitching coaches want to fight him, but aside from that, he maintains a fairly modest profile.
Scott, do you think the national heartburn or whatever, if Wade had gone to another school, okay, instead of LSU, would there be the criticism of him? Would there be the criticism of that school? I just pick a school. I mean, not Kansas or Kentucky, but pick another. Georgia Tech had an opening. Let's just use that for example. If Wade leaves North Carolina State and goes to Georgia Tech, okay, which I realize wouldn't have happened, but just play along here with me. Yeah, would he have been criticized like this? Would LSU have been criticized? Would Georgia Tech have been criticized for bringing him there after 1 year? It just seems like this convoluence of Wade and LSU led to the maximum amount of distaste for this hire outside of this market.
And Charlie, I'm glad you asked me that. I think that's 100% true. No, I don't. I think it might have been a little bit. Hey, he's going from one. If it was that school, hey, he's going after 1 year to this school, but it wouldn't have been to this degree. Look, it's just kind of constant, and Lane Kiffin said it yesterday. Obviously, he. In a similar vein, he said it when he talked to us after practice yesterday that, this, people they write their own story. They got to do what they think is best for them. And he was talking about Will Wade, but he was talking about himself as well, obviously. And Lane Kiffin would have been fired at Ole Miss if he didn't win enough. He doesn't owe them anything else. Will Wade, got NC State to the NCAA tournament. Do you leave in the best circumstances? Having your agent send an email to the athletic director, that's probably not the best thing. That's the way it indeed turned out. That's what the reports are. Kim Mulkey has said controversial things, but I keep saying Angel Reese would have come back, and wouldn't have come back for a second year if she was as awful as people say in some of these regards. Flo J. Johnson would not have stayed all 4 years, especially in this climate. it's always like some kind of LSU thing. And look, guys, I think people love they talk about they love to come here. They love to come to New Orleans to cover a Super Bowl or a Final Four or a national championship game, and they love to come from Mardi Gras and everything. But most of the time, it's just like you people in that little state, you just keep quiet, and you can't really have nice things, And LSU has to look out for LSU. In this climate, you don't have to, people blasting LSU and we'll wait. Did I see a bunch of columns that people wrote blasting Texas and Sean Miller? Sean Miller was embroiled in that whole wiretap thing as well, right? I mean, you can name other coaches. Look, Will Wade got caught cheating in that whole thing. Yes, he did, and he paid a price for it. He lost his job. He had to sit out of coaching for a year. Had a show cause when he went back to McNeese and faced he had to set a 10-game suspension. Right, he couldn't coach the first 10 games when he went back there. He paid his dues. He didn't murder anyone. And I just think this constant LSU and LSU people are bad things. Look, it's not going to change. LSU is Black Hat University, especially with Kiffin and Mulkey and Will Wade coaching at LSU again, and it's going to stay that way. And I think LSU fans kind of like that to a degree, but it's just this attitude that LSU's coaches, especially Wade, I wrote this years ago, that Will Wade's the only serpent in college basketball's Garden of Eden is naive in the extreme. You touched a nerve there, Charlie. You can't tell. I mean, I really think.
Of course.
I get it.
This is ridiculous.
I used the term imaginary rules earlier in the week because John Calipari has had how many tournament games vacated because of rules violations at two different schools? Rick Pitino had to vacate a national championship at Louisville. Kelvin Sampson had to spend 6 years on an NBA bench before anybody would hire him back. Bill Self and Kansas, who were under multiple major violations, told the NCAA to go jump in the lake, and that's not even the term I want to use, by saying, oh, you want us to discipline our coach? We'll give him a lifetime contract. If nobody else, the rules only work if everybody plays by them. So did Wade cheat? Yeah. If you want to use that word, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Paid the price for it. We can move on from everybody else. We're going to move on from
I like
this.
to say he got caught.
He got caught, yeah. Well, he did.
Well, everybody was cheating.
Yeah. There's that recording will follow him around forever, okay? Sorry, it just will.
Sure,
but it's not I can go through the violations for the other schools too. Believe me.
Kansas was hit with more level 1 allegations than LSU was.
Yeah, and if you, I don't even want to get into the Louisville thing. And Rick Pitino's a hero.
Between himself and what he was supplying for the recruits.
That's correct.
Scott, look, everyone is hypocritical about something. We all are. We're human beings. But this this attitude that LSU is bad or LSU people are doing worse things than other people is kind of ridiculous. I'll call LSU when they do something bad. The whole Hush Blackwell thing, that whole report and everything. LSU deserved what they got, and quite frankly, Verge Osbury at some schools might not still be employed. But I'll call them when they go do something bad. But it's just part of the whole landscape. But LSU is painted as this villain for some reason. But that's okay. It makes them more entertaining to write about.
You're pleasing your competition. You're doing something wrong. There was some reports. There were some reports. There's some other basketball coaches in the league. They're upset to see Matt McMahon go. Well, no freaking kidding.
Yeah,
no kidding.
Steve Spurrier loved Curly Holman.
Yeah,
it's great.
No kidding. 15th and 16th in your third and fourth year. Okay.
Scott, the NCAA gymnastics regional start at the PMAC today. I'm gonna call it the preliminary round. I'm probably, messing up the format, but Air Force in Nebraska starts today. But the full event starts tomorrow afternoon. LSU's in the late session. So for those that follow gymnastics, only at this time of year when it gets down close to the end of the NCAA tournament, what does LSU have to do? How big a favorite are they in this regional? How does this all play out over the next few days?
Yeah, it's 9 teams altogether. So the first round meet a play-in. The winner is in LSU session, Air Force or Nebraska. 2 4-team sessions. Top 2 teams advance to the regional final Saturday. The top 2 teams from there advance to nationals in Fort Worth in later this month. It's kind of similar to baseball, or women's softball. 8 teams advance altogether. It's not a given. These are some good teams. Stanford's number 7 in the country. Clemson won the ACC over Stanford. That still sounds strange to say. Air Force has a top 10 gymnast. There's some really good. Anna Roberts from Stanford, 5th nationally and all around. She has 3 perfect 10s. Some really good gymnasts. But all choose on their home floor, their home mats, their home equipment. They should. I think 95% chance that LSU is going to be one of those 2 teams to advance to the number 2 national seed. And of course, they've got a great trio. Leading the way with Kaylin Shio, leads the nation in all-around scoring, 9 perfect 10s. Kalia Lincoln and Connor McLean. Jay Clark has described it as a meat grinder, and he still remembers very well the fact that they didn't advance even to the regional final in 2022 when they had a typical top 10 LSU team. So it can happen. Someone always gets upset. But, the fact that LSU is getting to – and you have to bid for these regionals. They're not awarded like in baseball. Hey, you did well, you got a regional, or your top 8 national seed. You have to bid on them. So it's the first time in 7 years LSU gets a regional at home. And it certainly will help. But they got to go out there, perform, and get through it healthy. And if they can, they're going to be one of those 3 or 4 teams that can win it all in a couple of weeks in Fort Worth.
Last thing, the LSU women's basketball team lost in a heartbreaker to Duke to knock them out. Duke was knocked out by UCLA, so we get 4 number 1 seeds in the women's Final Four that starts on Friday night in Phoenix. Strange to see South Carolina as big an underdog as they are, but I guess when it's UConn and they're undefeated, you can see that. And Texas seems to be surging. And then UCLA's only lost once all season to Texas. They get the rematch. Who do you like in the Final Four in Phoenix?
I want to say UCLA, and I said I thought going in they should have been the number 1 overall seed. They had a better resume than UConn, just a 1 loss, and UConn's still undefeated. I like UConn over South Carolina, and I think I like Texas. I mean, Texas is just playing really, really well, and they got a great duo with Booker and Harmon. UCLA is great too, but they haven't been quite as impressive as the other 3 teams. They haven't won quite as impressively as the other 3 teams going in. So it's a tough thing to split hairs on, but those UConn and Texas in the final, I would think I would be the favorite to see win those games, and it's not a great thing to me though. For these are the same 4 Final Four teams from last year. It's not a great thing for women's basketball. In fact, in the last 3 years, going back to 2024, only a total of 6 teams make it to the Final Four. NC State and Iowa, with Caitlin Clark, made it in 24. And Iowa lost in the final to South Carolina. So not a great thing for women's basketball, but I think we're seeing less parity in that regard with in both tournaments. With the mid majors finding it harder to advance, and an upset finding it harder to happen in the women's game. It's always been hard in the women's game, but don't really love seeing the fact that it's 4 number 1 seeds in the women's Final Four now.
Scott, safe travels to Georgia. We'll talk to you next week from the loveliest golf course anywhere, I guess. Hello, friends. We'll see you next week from the Masters.
Thank you, friends. Take care.
Thanks.
Why does CBS not cover broadcast the Final Four games?
They made that
TBS.
It's TBS. They made that. They've kind of been bouncing them back.
Well, what do they have on? The Masters is next week. Max, even a Valero, which is kind of a, it's not an elevated event, obviously. I mean, that's on NBC, right? You'd think.
It's got it. Yeah.
What does CBS have on this week? But that they don't put. I mean, you're hurt. I mean, your ratings are affected if you have it on TBS, TNT, or True instead of CBS. Just is. Why would they invest in this and then pull out? What do they have? What is scheduled?
Murder, She Wrote.
Saturday evening and Monday night. What is possible?
I don't have a good answer.
Some tactical reason for them to get viewers to TBS or TNT, but you would think you'd want it on the biggest.
You'd want it with the most
market.
eyeballs. I mean,
that is the only thing.
101.
But man, yeah, you still. This is.
I mean, let's be honest, Jimmy. Who's watching True TV outside of like the first round?
I get it, but there is a reason for that because you have all 4 games. You have you can see every dribble of all 63 games. Every dribble. I mean, now nobody does this. I mean, this is like putting the Super Bowl on ESPN2.
Well, haven't we seen the national championship football game on ESPN and not on ABC?
ESPN draws better than the network. That's a different story. It's not TBS. Not TBS. Charlie, this is 20 years now that ABC has promoted ESPN on ABC.
Yeah.
No, now that's a different story.
I don't get it. I'm with you. I don't, for the amount of money that CBS expends for this, I don't have a good answer for you. Maybe Wes will know. But I don't.
Wes don't know.
I don't have a good.
Know anything.
We're brought to you by.
He knows where to go to Indianapolis, though.
Oh well, that's valuable information this week. We're brought to you by the Thibodeau Store, the Pierreport Store, also open in Lockport and LaRose. Lawn care made easy with products from Scott's. Limited time savings right now on the website. If you're getting your lawn, your garden, your flower beds, things up to speed right now. Miracle Grow, the Scott's Turf Builders, all of these things on special right now. All of your lawn and garden tools save up to 50% right now at these properties, thethibodeaustore.com. Outdoor cooking, outdoor power equipment,
what?
patio
Is this outdoor
furniture.
cooking weather or
this
what?
This is outdoor cooking weather.
On.
Get your equipment at the Thibodeau Store.
Since 2016, the Final Four and championship game alternate on even and odd number years between TBS and CBS. So next year.
And why?
They spend the same amount of money every year.
Contract stuff. I don't
know.
I'm an advertiser. I want the games on CBS, bro, for the semifinals and championship.
If I'm paying a premium, that's absolutely
yes.
right. Online, it's thethibodeaustore.com. Interesting spot there. Live.
That was Max.
Yeah,
that's Max, Charlie.
I love the Thibodeau Store. I'll be at the Pierreport Store this weekend.
Live at Snow's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
Here at Snow Seafood and Steak on Airline Highway at 74 in Gonzales.
Wes, Final Four in Indianapolis, buddy. You used up all your travel per diem. On the Hoosiers national championship run.
I did, and speaking of that, if you told me a few years ago I'd be watching wall-to-wall coverage on the NFL Network of an Indiana football pro day, I'd have said you were lying. And that's what we have right now, wall-to-wall coverage on NFL Network for IU football pro day, while the Final Four is just going on up 37 or about to start over the weekend in Indiana, nowhere near a part of that.
You know, I just wonder if, Signetti it comes like 2 years later, if this thing still would have worked out this way. I'm wondering the timing. I mean, before, after, whatever. I mean, Indiana was so down for so long. I mean, to get a spark before maybe the big boys started to get their crap together and really make it. Now Indiana, that alumni base is all in. They're a have now. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I'm wondering, Wes, do you wonder about that? If they were a couple years behind or didn't hit that window of opportunity the way they did?
Yeah, look, I think timing is everything. They got the right guy at the right place at the right time, and it worked out. So, if one thing's different, maybe there's slight improvement in Indiana. And it's not this level of improvement where you're going 16-0 and winning a national championship and having almost every scout in the league or every team represented watching your guys. So, timing is everything here.
Wes, why does CBS not broadcast the Final Four games in the national championship instead on TBS? What makes sense?
That I have no idea. I have no idea of anything that's going on with CBS right now and what these networks are doing. TBS is for NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions Championship Wrestling, and Beverly Hillbillies and Andy Griffith reruns. That's my TV, and Brave Days. That's my superstation, WTBS. Not having the Final Four there.
Your favorite hillbilly character?
Oh, God, Granny. Got to be Granny. Granny had the weapon, so I'm going to side with her.
Granny made the show.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Here we are now. And, well, first of all, just where do you put this thing historically? This unbelievable just sequence. This last minute, where – and we could even go back to maybe a minute or two before that where the Duke ball handler just loses its footing and, flips it into a transition and one opportunity. Boozer turning it over to give Caravan a chance to knock down that three when they're up 4, and, of course, the last sequence as well. It's still being talked about. I think just having Duke and all the eyeballs and having the crazy ending, it's like we still can't believe it actually happened. You can point to different reasons why and maybe blame and stuff like that. But it just reminds me a little bit of when Michael Jordan hit that shot against Georgetown. I was down in the Superdome, or Villanova upsetting Georgetown. College basketball wins, man. I think you gained some college basketball fans in this whole thing, big picture.
Yeah, I'll start with the Duke side here because, look, they're not going to stop recruiting the best talent. They're not going to stop recruiting 5 stars. So I would never say that. However, you need a mix of seasoned veterans, I think, on that team. And they're all young guys. And they're all very talented, but they're young. So you need some seasoned veterans and you need some older players. Mike Ray said it years ago, get old, stay old. And then the turnover happens. And then the kid that got blown off at a recruiting visit dinner by Mike Woodson, it's the 3 to go to Indianapolis. Braylon Mullins, Indiana Mr. Basketball. So Sunday was a double kick in the lower region if you're an Indiana person. We were talking about IU football and all that glory, but how about your guy, Dusty May, who's a graduate of Indiana and a former manager leading Michigan, and then you got to watch 2 hours later and see Indiana Mr. Basketball hit the 3 to send Connecticut to the Final Four in Indy.
Man, we don't want to hear any whining out of you right now. Okay, I don't want to. No, don't you try.
You're not going to hurt for content down there though, with Kiffin, Wade, and Kim Mulkey down there in Baton Rouge.
Oh, you think, huh? I mean, it's we're tired of pleasing our competition. So, hell with it. Do you think LSU will improve, win more basketball games with Wade than the guy they fired?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I think they'll get guys. Now they brought in Rick Stansberry and some other guys on the staff. I was like, everybody's paying players now. Like, I don't know if you necessarily have to do that, but no, I think LSU basketball will. I think Will Wade's a good coach, and obviously can get guys, but I think LSU's not going to be at the bottom of the SEC very much longer in basketball.
No, we're not. But yes, the colorful. We talked about, and Charlie started off the show today. We're talking about how, hey, we're the black hat. We'll wear it fine. We're going to win more. I could tell you that. But, the one that drives me crazy is the one who is, Will Wade left the program in shambles. Yeah, because he left. Yeah, because we ran him off. When he was still fighting some of the sanctions that we still we're going to the tournament if it wasn't a COVID year.
That doesn't bother me as much as you. I understand why that narrative came out. Okay, at that time it was unusual to have 0 players left. The next guy came in with 0 players, and he was facing a probation. I understand why that narrative was written. It wouldn't have been in shambles had Wade stayed, but when he left, the new guy had some challenges coming in. I get that.
Well, if it was shambles, McMahon buried it. Okay,
well,
so
we're in lockstep there,
man. But your thoughts, your perception of our athletic program down here.
Well, look, I mean, for football, it's going to continue, I think, to be a big-time program. And, do I know that Kiffin is the guy? Not necessarily. But, look, LSU is a big-time program, and Tiger Stadium is sold out on Saturday nights, and I think it's going to remain that way. And, look, you got to do what you got to do in college athletics. Look, even little Indiana, my alma mater, now we're the veteran. Now we're the team that everybody wants to beat and give us our comeuppance. So it's fine wearing the black hat, man. Somebody's got to do it, and somebody's got to be the villain. Why not? Embrace it.
I guess the only thing you compare is, well, the obvious is Bobby Knight. You know, I mean, Bobby Knight had his critics. There ain't no doubt. So, and then the other one is Signetti. Some of the things he was talking, I think he downshifted that because his program was being talked about away. But he was trying to promote his product by saying some outlandish things, originally. I think is it just me, but it sure seemed like he downshifted that just kind of that crazy talk that he was, known for. Google me and all that kind of stuff.
100%. And look, he had to build a dormant program, so that's a lot of what he did. And then he kind of knew, okay, we've got the goods here. We got something going. So then there became like a cool confidence, if you will. And I think that's what you got to do. You got to constantly focus on your brand as an athletic program and you having new generations, because look, fans die off. In the old days, there's people in the Bob Knight era for basketball, they're now passing on. So you've got a generation like with IU basketball that doesn't know elite success. So you're constantly having to evolve, and you're constantly having to keep branding your program as a top flight program. I'm sure LSU is trying to do the same thing right now.
Woodson did not offer the kid that hit the game-winning shot, Mr. Basketball?
He blew him off at a dinner down there at a restaurant in Bloomington and didn't go out with the assistant coaches and the families and didn't really call the guy at all. Meanwhile, Danny Hurley's like, hey, man, when you come here, we're coming back to Indianapolis for the Final Four, as he said on the post-game interview. And, kids, I don't care who they are, recruits want to feel like they're wanted. And they want to feel like they belong and that they're a priority. And Indiana didn't make Mr. Basketball feel a priority. And now you see where he's at.
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. How do you see the games on? And we talked about the narrative. We saw historically bigger prices, and we saw them. It become chalk festive. So we. I guess we'll deal with even bigger lines next year's tournament. But who do you like on Friday? On Saturday in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and part of it is a hedge off some Arizona futures, but I'll have some Michigan money line. I think Michigan, of the four teams, and all four of these teams, by the way, can win the whole darn thing. I think Michigan has been the most impressive in the tournament. Now, they could absolutely get beat by Arizona, but I'll lay some money line just to hedge off. And then the first game that we have with Illinois, Connecticut, of course, they did meet, by the way, in late November, where Illinois got beat in the Garden by 13 and got beat pretty handily. I like Illinois' chance a little bit more this time around, and also with the under, because one thing I've noticed with Illinois' defense, they're a lot more connected than they were in some of the conference season. And you saw it where they pretty much swallowed up Houston. Iowa, of course, pace dependent, and they play slow, so that certainly helped. But Illinois defense has been a lot better. So people are going to look at that total and say, oh, man, this is close to 140. I think this is a low-scoring game, but I like the Illini to advance.
All right. Well, if we're going to not cash a ticket, it's a good reason not to. Man, what a great story down in Houston at the Children's, man, Gary Woodland. My goodness. I mean, that is a story of all stories. What are we looking at the Valero this week?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did play him as a placement market, not as an outright. But, yeah, great story. And he put it to bed pretty early, so it was easy to root for him, knowing that Nikolai Hornchuk wasn't going to catch him for sure. But here in San Antonio, went with one guy I did play on the card last week, Michael Shorebornson, 33-1, leads the tour in total driving. He's been knocking at the door for a win. just kind of got wayward with the driver on the back nine. So he's still trying to get into the Masters because he actually lost his spot where he would have been in the top 50 and would have already been in. So he's got a win to get in this time around. And then another guy that's been knocking at the door, Rio Hisatsune, who was fifth here last year, 41-1, third in greens and regulation. And this is going to be different from Houston. This is not about just grip it and rip it and hit it as long and hard as you can off the tee. It's a lot more positional and a lot more approach-oriented this week. Denny McCarthy in the mid-40s, runner-up here 2 years ago where he lost that playoff to Akshay. A couple other top 20 finishes. Really good wind player. I think the wind's going to blow in San Antonio this week. So he's very good in tough conditions. And then home game for Johnny Kiffin, who played his college golf at Baylor, the Korn Ferry Player of the Year. He's been a member of TPC San Antonio since his pre-teen days. T3 last week in Houston, fourth overall on the tour in ball striking. And then I'm going to go with my guy. He finished in the top 10 last week, Sudarshan Yelamaraju, who the word's out on this guy that taught himself to play golf watching YouTube. Sixth last week in Houston, fifth at the Players 3 weeks ago, and then a couple bombs here. I almost was going to go with another Jordan, who was won here before, Jordan Spieth, but I thought 18-1 was a little short, so I'm going to go with Jordan Smith from England, who has really been striping the ball very well. I know he was only T44 last week, but he shot all 4 rounds in the 60s last weekend. Number 1 in this field on the PGA Tour for ball striking with Morikawa's late withdrawal. And then the triple-digit guy, William Mao, 110-1. Fourth in good drives, 10th in ball striking. He's been first, fourth, and fifth for total driving in his last 3 tournaments. So I think we're going to get maybe a little bit off the radar guy, even though we got some names here in this field.
That's Mao, M-O-U-W, William Mao. Follow Wes on Twitter, X, at Wes Reynolds 1. Wes, enjoy the Final Four, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. Masters Week next week.
Yeah, you bet, guys. Excited for it. Thanks for having me.
All right. Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big, with locations from Baton Rouge to Goldie Meadow. We've been serving the people of southern Louisiana for over 50 years. You know, running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers like Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, David Henry, Prentice Wilkes, you're not just a number, you're a partner. Contact us today and see how we can help your business today. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Leadoff single in the third with Pittsburgh leading 3-0. Bottom of the third, Skeens facing Dela Cruz with a leadoff single against him in the bottom of the third. 3-0 Pirates.
Live at Snow's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak. Ken Gonzalez on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Our Wednesday consensus golf picks are brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
All right, boys.
Max going Yellow Majaro again. I could feel it.
Not quite.
No?
Not quite. We do have 2 consensus picks this week. We'll get to those in a second. But, yeah, I sadly, Woodland was the last guy off my card last week. And I said I'll be excited for him. You know, if he wins, I'll be happy. You know, it'll be all good. I don't have to bet on him. Well, when he wins, you kind of like, yeah, I really wish I did bet him. That would have been a little bit nicer. But nevertheless, we go to the Valero Texas Open, TPC San Antonio. Interesting setup. A little bit more accuracy favored off the tee. Last week was just bomber friendly. I mean, you could just wail on driver. This is not as similar as that. But a prep for the Masters, of course. Some players like to play their way into the Masters. Some don't. Any major, for that matter. But it's a decent field at the top of the odds board here. I'm going to start my card with Robert McIntyre, 20-1. Scott, who's shown that he can win before. He's from McNeese State. I always get a crack out of people not getting the local connection with him. But 4th place finish at the Players, and just has shown that he can actually close one out. 2-time winner on the PGA Tour, 3-time winner on the DP World Tour. I think he's playing good enough golf, and the last 2 winners at this tournament have been lefties. We always talk about lefties playing well at Augusta National. I think it's a little bit less so than it once was due to the lengthening of the golf course. But Robert McIntyre, 20-1. Maybe we get 3 straight lefties to win the Valero Texas Open. Sepp Straka, 26-1. A flusher, absolute flusher. Great iron player. Someone who I play quite a bit because his iron play just off the charts, and that's something that really stands out to me this week. Also, pretty good around the greens. And we've seen him not so great here at the Valero Texas Open, but somebody who seems to fit this golf course well. His best finish was a 22nd finish back in 2023, but I think if he plays this more, he'll have a lot of great finishes. Finished 8th at the Players as well. Denny McCarthy, 44-1, never won on the PGA Tour. I'm nervous about this one. He seems to have been close in the past. He was close to the Memorial a few years ago, but he was especially close here 2 years ago at the Texas Open. Akshay Bhatia and him were far and above better than the rest of the field. He had separate themselves, and McCarthy was probably deserving of winning, but Akshay was great, brilliant in that one. McCarthy hits it in the water on the 72nd hole, go to a playoff. Maybe it wasn't the playoff, actually, where he hit it in the water. But nevertheless, finished runner-up at the 2024 Valero Texas Open. Also has 3 other top 20 finishes here. So course fit, and he's been hitting his irons well. So if he can find his driver a little bit more, I like him this week. And a couple bombs here. You heard one of them from Wes already. William Mao, 125-1. He is a winner on the PGA Tour. He won last year in an alternate field event at the ISCO Championship. I like just his pedigree. I think he's a good enough player. He's 25 years old, kind of up and coming, can hit the ball long enough, but also hitting the ball straight enough at the moment. And his iron play has been pretty good. Top 25 finishes in 2 of his last 3 starts, including at the Players, but his best finish of the season at the Cognizant Classic, which similar to me a little bit, and that's a little positional off the tee. So William Mao, 125-1. And my final pick this week, 5 plays, Lee Hodges, 140-1. Someone who is pretty good around the greens, especially out of the sand, and that's something that stands out to me this week. A lot of sand save percentage is always important this week. Some tough bunkers in and around these greens. And he's hitting enough greens right now. Also a good putter traditionally. So Lee Hodges, while he's not putting well as of late, I think he's an accurate player and can get the job done here. So 140-1. McIntyre, Straka, McCarthy, William Mao, and Hodges, which gives us 2 consensus picks. Denny McCarthy, 44-1. William Mao, 125-1. For what it's worth, Ryo Hisatsune was the last guy off my card, so maybe bet him because Wes has him, and I was so close last week. But there you go. McCarthy and Mao, the consensus picks this week.
No yellow mirage you, huh?
Not quite. Wes has him, so maybe you should play him. But he finished top 10. If you had him in placements markets, he was our consensus pick last week, so you would have gotten something out of him. I had him plus 280, top 20, but good player,
was he top 10?
Top 20, my guess, just looking at that, including
top
ties. 10. Top 10 would have probably been 6 to 1. 6 to 1.
6 to plus 600 in that area. So McCarthy and Mao, our consensus picks brought to you by our friends at the law offices of O.C. Brown. Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. Your law firm for a lifetime, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com. So you're not sure whether or not you need legal assistance, you got to take advantage of our free initial consultation. You can either pick up the phone and dial 343-1111 or go to their website at ocbrown.com. Big box comes right up on the main page, and it's easy to you just click on and set up that initial consultation as well. We will put one of our specialists on your case, whatever it pertains to, and go from there and let you know if you're entitled to anything, your rights are being infringed upon, or you really kind of wasting your time pursuing this. Downtown, Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com. Into 4 now in the Great American Ballpark. If Cincinnati gets an RBI double off of Skeens. Skeens through 4 has only given up 2 hits. 2 hits, the run is earned. Striking out 4 and giving up just 2 walks. Kevin Gausman has a really nice game going in Toronto. No score in the bottom of the 3. He has scattered 3 hits. But no runs for the Colorado Rockies.
No, Toronto's got the 3 hits.
I'm sorry,
Colorado,
my bad.
I don't think
no
he
hits.
Him a base runner.
Thank you, Charlie. No hits through 3. You're right. So Gausman, 4 strikeouts, no walks through 3. Looks exceptionally sharp. So it's been 9 up, 9 down, huh?
Yeah, I don't think he's a lot.
Yeah.
Had a lot of base runner.
No errors. No errors for the. There's a 9 up, 9 down for Gausman through the first. Is this the first start of the season?
Second.
He was the opening day starter.
11 strikeouts.
Or number 2.
Day. Yeah,
number 2.
11 strikeouts, no walks in 6 innings, and gave up 1 run in his first outing. So he's off to a really good start. Live at Snow's here in Gonzales, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak. Ken Gonzalez on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
We return here at Snow's. Jimmy, we got college basketball tonight. The Crown Basketball Classic Tournament, whatever you want to call it, in the MGM Grand tonight. Oklahoma, Colorado, Baylor, Minnesota, the first two games up in that tournament.
We have been following blindly Oklahoma for a long time because they really did play better down the stretch. They were 3-0 in the SEC tournament against the spread as well. Them and Ole Miss combined for going 7-0 against the spread in the SEC tournament in Nashville. But this is just driving the price up too high. 9.5 points in a game like this where you don't know what the motivation is between two teams. Colorado has shown at times they went to Provo and whooped up on BYU. That's probably the best road game that they've had. But they have shown that they're not bad, like their coach as well. They're well coached. Oklahoma, as much as I've been riding them, Charlie, it's time to hop to the other side and take these points. And in a late game as well, two teams that are modest. Minnesota, the guy got the job because they were a Derek Queen shot away from advancing to the Sweet 16, coming from Colorado State. They've done a pretty good job. So we know Drew. This is one of their more disappointing seasons they've had in a long, long time. I'll take the points in that one as well with Minnesota plus 3.5.
I can tell you what their motivation is. Last
Money?
year, yeah, the NIL prize pool was $500,000 last year. Nebraska got $300,000. Central Florida got $100,000, and the other two teams, Boise State and Villanova, got $50,000 apiece. So
they split them up amongst the teams.
Yeah. So quite a bit of money for a.
They split it up for everybody. I mean, all 12 players.
I don't. And they see that now. I don't know that. I can't tell you that they did it exactly equally, but somebody got that money for Nebraska last year at $300,000, and
Nebraska cites that for their run this year that they finished. It
a lot of teams
kind of
believe in
started
that.
them.
The carryover factor. I think it's less of a factor now for most teams because there's so much roster turnover. But whatever works.
Old days of the NIT. Ralph Sampson, their freshman year, they won the NIT before they went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Or made those great runs his last 3 seasons.
Thanks to Snows. We'll be at Bally's tomorrow. Stay tuned for Hunt on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.